Every time I start and the way it pounds in my ear, I'm like, yes. Like it's like a little bit of
Love it.
fired up right before I start. So welcome everyone back to my 32 fan series. So if this is the first episode that you're listening to, this is a series where I talk to one fan from all 32 teams across the board. And Josh is my resident Chargers fan. And fun fact, I usually message you first before I message anybody else. So you probably didn't know
Wow.
that. So
I
just
didn't.
so you know, and I believe that you have been on every single recording that I have had because the Chargers have been in the playoffs.
Oh,
So you're on
wow.
like
Okay.
my regular season, and then you're on my like postseason. So, anyways, just wanted to call that out. So this is all things Chargers. Just so everybody knows, I will put whatever information in the description Josh wants me to put in the description. And Josh is here because he has a lovely wife that I happen to be friends with. So, and I know she always listens to these. So, hey, girl. And other than that, I'll let you introduce yourself and tell us whatever you want us to know about how long you've been a Chargers fan and just anything you want us to know about you.
Awesome. Well, thank you. It's my pleasure to be here in all those shows. So thank you for inviting me.
Of course.
No, I got into football early 2000s, late 90s or so, and I live in a suburb of LA, and we didn't have a team back then. The Raiders left, and the Rams left, and so it was always whatever was on local TV. And I just remember one day, like watching my dad, and he was watching the Chargers, and he cheered for a touchdown or something like that. And I was like, why do you like them? Because I like all his other teams, you know. And he was like, well,
Yeah.
they're the closest thing to LA. And that was when, of course, they were in San Diego. So since then, I started growing up, and you know, my friends were watching football. I was like, okay, well, that's my team now, and been here ever since.
I love it. Okay. So, how being a Chargers fan has to be kind of interesting because you have your quarterback. Everybody knows he's the quarterback. You have your coach. Everybody genuine like assumes that he's the coach, like great coach and all those things. But it's just not quite it's not quite, whatever word you want to throw in there. How does it feel being a Chargers fan? Like when the season ended, the way that it ended, how are you feeling right now? Like before the draft, how are you feeling with everything?
Mixed feelings, and that is a good point. We got the big hire with Jim Harbaugh, and we had the quarterback at the time to lure him in. Um, I take myself back 2 years ago when we got him and remember the narrative around there. A lot of the inside Charger people were like, this isn't going to be overnight, you know. We may or may not make the playoffs next year, or, you know, we need time for him to get his players and such because the previous regime didn't draft very well, didn't have a
Fair.
lot of good systems in place. Um, and right off the bat, when he started having success, that narrative changed to, oh, okay, now we're expected to win. Now we're expected to do that. So if I take myself back to then, um, I feel the trajectory's going the way it should be. But of course, the two playoff losses back to back in the first round doesn't feel good. So others might see things differently. But I'm pretty positive about the future.
Yeah, no, I if I were you, I would be too. so that's awesome. So okay, let's talk about this draft. What word would you use to describe the draft?
The the word I think about when I saw this draft after everything was said and done was depth. Depth is the word. We didn't get a lot of big playmakers like running backs or QBs. We got a lot of blue collar players for the foundation of our team. Our number one or our first round pick was an edge. We got four offensive linemen, a D lineman, safety. So those aren't the exciting players, although we did get one. But those are the players that make a difference, that make the exciting players exciting because they allow them to do their work. So
Yeah.
I thought overall we had a pretty good draft.
And I would like you to know that when I was watching, I don't remember if it was day 2 or day 3, I can't remember. And because I'm a nerd and I look at people's drafts before the day starts and I like kind of see where I think they need a draft. That's true. And I was thinking, the Chargers, yes, offensive linemen. Like that was just because when they're like a guy off the couch last year, and then it was just not great. And so I remember watching the draft thinking, yes, okay, this draft makes sense to me. So I love when that happens because I don't feel too crazy. So having said that, if we're thinking like day 2, day 3, Who do you think that you all picked up where you think that that person might be a steal?
If you like the content that you're getting, don't forget to hit that like button. Leave us a comment in the comment section below, and I'll let you get back to your video.
Um, for us, and this goes back to my first point, is about that one exciting player. In the third round, we actually traded down. We expected to trade down. We were hoping to trade down, something our previous GM never did at some point because we needed a lot of holes to fill.
Mm,
So we traded down in the third round, and our first pick in the fourth round ended up being Brennan Thompson, who is a wide receiver. He's about 5'9", so a little bit on the shorter side, smaller guy, 165. But he did have the fastest 40 in the draft this year. I believe it was a 4.26 and two hundredths of a second shorter than Tyreek Hill, and I'll go into that a little bit. This is something that Chargers aren't used to getting. Chargers have
okay.
historically gotten big, tall wide receivers. Your Mike Williams, your Malcolm Floyd, your Vincent Jackson, even our tight end, our best tight end in the league at the time, Antonio Gates, all people over
Hmm.
6 foot. Even right now, we have QJ, who was drafted from the previous regime, and he's 6 foot, 6'1" or so. So now we got our vertical threat. He is the smallest guy in the draft too, but we have our new offensive coordinator, Mike McDaniel. And who did he have before? He had Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle out in Miami. So we're hoping for good things, and he can do. I'm not calling him Tyreek Hill yet, but if he can do those types of things to give Justin Herbert another weapon, only good things can come out of that.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Who's the one player you think from this draft class is going to make the biggest immediate impact?
Probably our first round pick, which was Akeem Mesidor from Miami.
Hmm.
And he was an interesting one. Usually, when you go into a draft, the two biggest things you think of is, oh, do we go for our biggest need or do we go for the best player available on the board? And for us this year, I think we kind of met that in the middle. The biggest knock on him is that he's 25 years old. Now,
Yep.
that's not that old for me or you, I don't think, but in NFL rookie years, that is really old. But
Yep.
that works for us. He is ready to go. He is the most NFL ready now. And that told Chargers fans that we're in a win now mode. We are willing to
Yeah.
sacrifice the age and the years to get someone who is NFL ready. And
Right.
that was probably about our second biggest need, edge, because right now we only got our two guys, Khalil Mack and Thule there. So now we got a little bit more depth, and we got a nice three-headed monster, assuming everyone stays healthy. But he's ready to go in and hopefully start game one.
Yeah. And for what it's worth, the college football is on a little bit of a balancing act right now because of eligibility. So there might be a lot more 24, 25-year-olds that are going to enter the
Mm,
NFL. And I don't think that that's a terrible thing. It's just new. So it's going to be interesting to see how it balances because the way kids are just staying longer in college now because they can make a
yeah.
ton of money. And so a lot of people would have rushed to come out at year 3. Now they're staying as long as they can. So it's going to be interesting to see how the age works out this year. So, anyways, just throwing that out there because I know some people are seeing that watch heavy NFL, and I'm like, I think it's going to start being more of a thing than we think it is. So we'll see. That's
It
just
could be
my.
positive because at least from what I heard with Mesidor, he did get some of that NIL money, and
Mhm.
it's almost like you're a millionaire before you go into the NFL. So you're not learning how to be a millionaire while learning a playbook and
Th-
doing all that.
that's a
You're
really good
already
point.
subjected to it. So
That you know what? That's a really good point. Like I need to bring that up in a video cuz you are 100% correct. And you're right. That's like something else that can be taken off their plate that they need to focus on when they're a rookie because they're used to that money. And historically they weren't. It was like, "Oh my gosh, how much is like,
yeah,
when is my
exactly.
first payday? Like this is insane." Great point. That's a really good point. So, okay, now I'm really going to be watching to see how the older guys do. So, okay. Is there a player on your team or is there a player that you feel like you all continue to pass on that you were just kind of like, that might haunt us? Like, he's right there. Why are we not taking him? And then he went to another team.
Definitely. This was the big one in Chargers land. In round two, our first biggest need in the draft was interior offensive line, so a guard. We needed a left guard. So in round two, when our pick was up, we had Emmanuel Pregnon from, I believe he's from Oregon, on the board, and he was the best available guard on a lot of pick boards and everything for in the second round when our turn was up. And we ended up getting a center, Jake Slaughter, who has never played guard before, but the Chargers were committed to putting him at guard.
Okay.
So it was a very interesting pick. Mike McDaniel, our new offensive coordinator, was super excited for this guy. So it's only like, okay, he's excited. We're going to get excited. Right, so and then the
Yeah.
third round came, and Emmanuel Pregnon was still on the board, and we traded down out of that third round, and he ended up going to Jacksonville. So,
Yeah.
Chargers went with a different strategy, I feel. So, I do like the depth that we got. We got like 6 offensive linemen in the total draft. But you know, it'll be interesting to see what he does in Jacksonville next year. I'll be watching a little bit.
You and a lot of people, because he was one that I just knew coming out of Oregon. Is it Oregon? I think it's Oregon. I just like I knew he was going to go higher. So I don't know.
Mhm.
Maybe he didn't interview well. I don't know. Like something is weird there because I remember thinking like how is he still on the board? I just thought that that was weird. So
Yeah, I've
you
heard that
never know.
before too. Never know.
Yeah, some of these guys, you just never know what they said in those rooms. You're like, so okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about this team because, like I said before, I watch the Chargers. I feel like I watch them a lot because they're usually in the second half of the day. So it's usually like, oh yeah, like great, more football. Like who's playing who? And so, but this year I feel like they had a lot of primetime games, which that means like, come on, Chargers, like get it together. Like everybody's watching. So what would success look like for you this year? Like what is that next? I guess I should say, what is the next milestone that you're trying to get to? You've made the playoffs, you've done that. What is the where is that success? Like what are you looking for so you can be like at the end of the season, like, okay, we finally whatever it is.
For a lot of Chargers fans, I think this is an easy question. Going back to back double digit wins this season. Even previously with our previous coach, we got to the playoffs. But the biggest thing with Justin Herbert at QB is to get a postseason win. We
Mhm.
can get into the playoffs, and that's where, of course, we've had trouble there for different reasons. A lot of comparisons inside Charger world, at least, just being in the AFC and everything, is Peyton Manning. I'm not calling Justin Herbert Peyton Manning, but Peyton Manning had a very good rookie year, had a lot of good numbers, but never got a playoff win until I think his 7th year in the league.
Yep, took him a minute.
And Justin Herbert is getting there. He's at his 7th year. So now I'm hoping this year we got some weapons, we got protection for him, and that we can just break that hump, get that monkey off his back, get Chargers that postseason victory. Super
Yeah.
Bowl, of course, is great, but let's do
Yep.
one thing at a time. And a postseason victory for me would be a successful season.
Okay. I respect that. That sounds fair to me. Which position group worries you the most at this point?
This one's hard. I'll go with the overall group of our defense.
Ooh, okay.
We had one of the top defenses last year, especially if you look at the points against stats, how many points we let go.
Mhm.
But this past year, we did lose our defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter. He's the head coach at the Ravens now. And we lost some key players that we got. And we had our best player we got in the trade last year, Adafe Owe, and we traded from the Ravens, and he was outstanding, and he earned his
Mhm.
bag and went to Washington. So
Yeah.
we replaced him with the Mesidor, but we'll see how that goes. I have good hopes for that. But then, you have a new coordinator, you have new players, you don't know what you're going to get. So that's kind of like
Mhm.
my question mark. And everyone's a year older. Our star players like Derwin James is a year older. He's still doing great as a safety, corner, linebacker, whatever you want to call him.
Right.
But, everyone's a year older. So So we'll see how that works out this year.
Well, I don't know about you. I don't get a year older, so I don't know what you're talking about the year. I stay the same age every year, so I
Yeah.
don't know what you're talking about. No,
I'm
that's a
still
great point though.
27.
As far as exactly, yeah, I never even turned 27. I don't even know what you're talking about. So, okay, so what? It's interesting. Like when I look at the Chargers, like you asked me, I'm just saying this. This is what when I look at them, I'm always like, they should have this figured out. And then it's like when I watch them play, it's like I can't figure out why they don't have it figured out. It's the weirdest thing because I'm like, they have everything right, and then they don't, and I'm like, what happened? So I can't imagine how you feel as a fan when you probably feel very similar, where you're just like, okay, we figured it out, and then you're like, did we? Did we figure it out?
You know, in Chargers world, there's a word for that, and it's
It's
called
chargering.
chargering. Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, so
Anytime you have to get a left tackle off the couch, yeah. So we'll just leave it at that. I mean, to be fair, the Colts tried to get a quarterback off the couch. So, I mean, it is what it is. So I guess, I don't know. I don't understand these teams sometimes. So, where has this team improved the most from last season?
the biggest thing we addressed in the draft, which was offensive line. It was we had a carousel. I think we had the most different combinations of offensive line in the league. And I think it was around 26, I want to say, different combinations of players coming in and out, and whether it's injury or subbing in and not just play
Yeah.
committee. So, this goes back to us not getting Pregnon. It Pregnon would have been, I guess, the easy top choice, candidate. But
Yeah.
we didn't get him. But what we ended up doing was getting depth. In total, we got 6 offensive line, and even with that Jake Slaughter, the interesting thing about him is last year, one of our worst positions on the offensive line was center. So this year, in free agency, we got Bigaze from Washington.
Okay.
Serviceable, not the top one. That I think the Ravens got the highest free agent, but he was a serviceable one. But what Jake Slaughter can do is he's going to try to move into left guard. Maybe if he doesn't make left guard, well, now we have a backup center, or Bigaze's on the 2-year contract, so maybe he's the next person up when he leaves.
Yeah.
So they're building that, and then we got 5 other offensive linemen who are going to be fighting it out in a committee. Competition breeds, great success. So they're going to
Mhm.
be trying to be, and they're all players. They're not off the couch. These are players that Chargers picked up for a
Good.
reason. They saw something in them. So with that said, I'm hoping for good things from the offense.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. If the offensive line doesn't work this year, the Chargers need to hire like 3 former offensive linemen, all pros, and be like, who would you draft? Because at this point, like it's just something has to work, because last year it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. So, and you said the quarterback is getting a year older every year. So, we might need to we might need to get that taken care of.
True. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So what do you think you all do better than most teams? Like, who do you like when you look at your team and you're like, you know what, at the end of the day though, we do this thing really well?
Um, Watching, especially more intently than when he was in college, Jim Harbaugh, and just he's a very quirky dude, but he gets
Okay.
people to buy in. Um, you know, it's strange when you see a bunch of big men in the locker room singing "He's a jolly good fellow" after every win, but he they're bought in. They're buying
Yeah.
into him and his culture. So and with that, one thing I have noticed the last 2 years is being able to bounce back after a tough loss. Like they can come back and win in a convincing manner. Um, there wasn't any long stretches where it was like, oh, woe is me, we're losing. It's more of like, how do we figure it out and how do we bounce back? And
Fair.
that's something that it's an intangible, but it's something that I notice, and hopefully this year, we lost in the first round in the playoffs. Can we bounce back from that? And that what
Yeah.
gives me a little bit more confidence seeing him, game to game being able to bounce back. But let's bounce back season to season and come
Yeah.
back and do it again and do it better, hopefully.
I love it. And then the last question, did I ask you where you've improved the most from last season?
Yes, that was the
Okay.
offense. The
The
offense,
offense, right.
adding the
Okay.
offensive
Yeah.
line.
I have a question. The running back that you all drafted last year,
Omarion
Omar,
Hampton.
did he come back this year?
Yeah, sort of. He came
Okay.
back and then went back out, and then in the postseason he was active, but I believe he only played like 2 plays, so we knew he
Okay.
wasn't really good. And I think in the offseason he ended up having surgery. So again, with the offensive line, like we got a running back from free agency. It wasn't a big name.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the third stringer from the Ravens, but
Okay.
they're expecting Keon Mitchell, I think. They're expecting big things from him. So we got a good committee back there. Kamani
Okay.
Vidal came and stepped up, and he was a pretty serviceable. So now with Amari and Hampton healthy, Kamani Vidal is a backup, and then we got the guy Keon Mitchell from the Ravens, and we're hoping, with a better offensive line, the interior, especially with the interior, that we can get some big
Okay.
plays from those folks.
All right, I love that. Yeah, I just before the season started, I picked him and Travis Hunter to like have great seasons as rookies.
Mm,
Both of them I feel like got hurt like the same week or like
yeah,
one after
yeah.
another, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So there's that. And yeah, anyways, I'll leave that where it's at. But
Yeah.
okay, cool. Let's go through the fun round a little bit here. So not coaching, quarterback confidence on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being please get this quarterback out of here fast, to 5 being please never leave us. We're going to figure this out.
I am at a 5. I know
Okay.
it's controversial. People don't see it with Herbert, but man, when you watch him every day and every game, he does some amazing things. So we just got to give him that the team around him to excel even further. So I'll put that a 5.
Fair. Okay. Coaching staff trust level from 1 to 5.
This one, I'm gonna put as a 4. Um, Jim Harbaugh is a 4.5. I'll give him that. I don't know
Okay.
if you've seen the ESPN, or they're not supposed to give them out this year. They were supposed to be private, but they leak player report cards, what players think of
Yep.
their team. And I was really funny because I think Jim Harbaugh got like a C grade, and it was very interesting. I was wondering again,
Okay.
with that culture, maybe the folks that didn't buy in gave him that C. And then there's been rumors that he works them too hard. He works them like college kids.
Mm, okay.
So once that came out, I was kind of like, I shouldn't let it influence me, but maybe there's some truth there. So I gave that. I would give him a 4.5, but then he has a whole new coaching staff under him. He's very good at
Yeah.
developing coaches, but he has a new defensive coordinator. He has a new offensive coordinator. How are they going to mesh and everything? So that's why I would give it a 4 right now for overall coaching staff.
And you know what? If that is true, that is why the postseason never quite works out, is because the players, they're done. Like they're done. Like they're for their bodies. They're probably
Good point.
tired. It's probably been a long season. So yeah, that's actually interesting. I would pay more attention to that, because I always say in the NFL where there's smoke, there's always a fire, because somebody is trying to, like, it's so hush hush that if something does get out,
Yeah,
like, I'm
good
like,
point.
what? Who said what? What? Wait, what? Who said that? So, okay, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Let's see how that one plays out in the long run. So, who do you think will carry the team this year? Do you think it's going to be offense or defense?
Just because I was a little trepidatious with defense, Mike McDaniel is our defensive coordinator. Surprisingly enough, he was like a linebackers coach like 3 years ago. Then he went to be a head coach at a Division II school or something, and then he came back as a defensive coordinator. So there's rumors that that was the plan all along.
Okay.
But he hasn't been a coordinator at the NFL level. Mike McDaniel has been a proven offensive coordinator. He's been a head coach and got to the postseason, I think, once with Miami when he was a head coach. So he has that NFL experience. So I'm trusting him a little bit more to lead our offense, especially with the draft, being involved with the draft and everything. So I would choose the offense over the defense this year.
Okay, fair enough. If there's a team that you could trade drafts with, you would just swap, you get all their picks, they get all your picks. Which team would you trade with, if any?
So this one's interesting because I'm a little bit new to watching these drafts. We had Tom
Okay.
Telesco for years, and he was a very cookie cutter. You have 6 picks, you're getting your 6 players. That's it.
Yeah.
Um, this year we went into the draft with 5 picks, and we came out with 8. And we didn't get pregnant. I keep going back to that because that's an example of, okay, he was the best player on the board, but let's trade down and get more and see what we can
Mhm.
do with these players. Horowitz has had success with some of his players he's drafted in the 4th and 5th round. So if
Okay.
you do all these dart throws for players that you see something in, if 2 or 3 stick, that's pretty solid. So with that
100%.
said, I looked at all the drafts, and the Ravens, I believe, was interesting because they had 11 picks, which is crazy. How do you get 11 picks? And some call them, or people are calling us the Ravens West, because we have Jim Harbaugh. We were doing trades with John a lot when he was over there at the Ravens and stuff. And we have their assistant GM as our GM and stuff. So there's a lot of mutuality between those. But man, I didn't even look at the players. I was like 11 picks. Like if you get 4 of those right, like that's a good draft. Like
For sure. That's a good way to look at it. And that's what I always tell people. I'm like, it doesn't matter who hits. You just want at least 3 or 4 of them to hit. And if you can get 5 or 6, like, you just want people to play well. You hope it's your first round pick, obviously. Sometimes it's not though. Sometimes it's the random guy you got in
oh,
round 4
definitely,
that is just like
yeah.
cut out for football, that you're like, that guy's a star. We need him. So, okay. And if your team had a this always happens to us moment where you're just looking at the screen or you're watching the game and you're like, of course that just happened because we're the Chargers. What is that for you all?
What we said earlier, charging. It's funny. The other day I was looking it up. I was like, this has got to be in the dictionary or something now. And someone posted something funny I saw. So it's not mine. I'm just going to say it though. They said charging is a verb. It's finding ways to lose under rare, incredible, or impossible methods. So that is this has always happens. This is charging. If we're
Okay.
up by 3 in a playoff game, we're gonna be biting our nails and sweating it out because we're gonna be afraid of charging. So
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Well, maybe one day that will, will go away. Probably not. Probably not though. We'll see. And then the last question I have for you is if you could send a message to the team's GM or the team's owner, what would you say in your message?
just at least for the last 2, well, he has a historical thing of being cheap, but the Spanos family is just spend more money. Even this year, if you look even just at the football side, we had the biggest
Yeah.
cap space, one of the top most cap space of any team, and we didn't spend anything. And even we spent like on a couple of players, 8 mil here, 10 mil here. Um, and now we didn't pick up all the players in free agent or any players. We still have top cap space. We could still be filling holes and stuff, and maybe there's a plan down the line. But our owner has historically not been the most, um, spending wise,
Okay.
great at doing that. So just you're in LA now. Like you spend that
Spend
money,
it.
and you'll make it. You'll make more. You'll make it back threefold if you spend it. So,
That's
um,
true.
but yeah. Just if the Spanos can just spend more money, I think the team would be in a lot
I
better place.
There's a lot of fan base, a lot, probably 7 to 8 fan bases that always are like, if we could spend money, like if we could go get guys, like, and it's actually interesting. It's every owner operates their team the way they want to, but it's always interesting to see, like, you can go to the playoffs, right? You can still get to the dance, but is it you're not going any further because you won't spend that money? It's always like it's always going to be a question, because then you look at teams that win and you're like, well, they spend money. I mean, but then you look at teams that kind of like the Dallas Cowboys, like they spend money, but where's
And
that payoff? So
I've heard historically that teams that spend like the biggest money in free agency typically don't win as much like in the
okay.
postseason, except for this past year. The Seahawks spend an exorbitant amount of money in the offseason last year, and
Mhm.
they won it all compared
Yeah.
to the Patriots who didn't spend anything the previous year. So, um,
Maybe it's
we're
debatable. Yeah.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And let's be honest too. It is a sack away, a fumble away, a turnover away, a missed field goal away. Like it's all of like also like the little bitty things. And so we always point back to money. But you're right. Maybe there's other factors that kind of go into that. Fair enough. Awesome. Well, that was all I had for you. Is there anything that you want to add? Because you're obviously a Chargers fan. Is there anything that you were hoping that would come up that you wanted to talk about, or just anything that you wanted to share?
No, I hope I like having them on primetime games because especially yes, we're in LA, but we're lower market LA. We're the Clippers of LA. We're the Angels of
Fair.
LA. So um, like, but I do like that exposure on primetime and such. I know I'm being a little, but those games usually end up being pretty good. We've had a good success
Hmm.
there, so I'm just hoping we get some more primetime games so everyone can see us and um, get a little bit more of that exposure. But yeah, I'm pretty excited. Just excited for football season, as I'm sure everyone is.
Yeah, awesome. And I believe last year you guys played the not the Chargers, the Chiefs, right? Somewhere overseas, the first game. And I was
Yeah,
like, oh, this team looks ready to go. I was like
yeah,
fired up. I was like, oh, are we seeing the changing of the guard? Like, ooh, this is going to be. And then, yeah. So, I mean, you guys were still in the playoffs. So it's like you weren't a bad team. It was
yeah,
just interesting to know like where you start and then to see how like the entire season ends because the AFC West is, it's heating up to say the
yeah.
least because I don't see Denver going anywhere anytime soon. So it's getting interesting.
Definitely. I hope the NFC last year they duked it out, the
Yeah.
NFC West, and I think this year the AFC West is going to be similar. Where we're
Yeah.
just going at it with each other. So
I love it. Sounds good. Well, thank you so much, Josh. I appreciate you always, everything you do, whether it's communication, advice, feedback, showing up, being amazing, talking about your team, whatever it is, being an amazing husband to Vanessa, whatever it is. Like, I just appreciate you. I love good people. And I just don't think we celebrate good people enough because there's a lot of other types of people in the world. So I just want to give you kudos for being amazing. So thank you for being amazing and always being present. I really appreciate that.
likewise, I appreciate it. Thank you, Tanisha.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. And also, Vanessa, hey girl, I'm saying bye now because we're ending. And usually when we record, she's there and I get to talk to her after. She's not there. So now I have to talk to her through a camera that she can hear when this episode comes out. But, anyways, thanks for being here.
Awesome. Thank you.